how much are fines in criminal cases? What's it going to cost, right? I've read that it's a $5,000 fine maximum for a gross misdemeanor. Some of the felonies are $10,000 or $20,000. Am I going to go bankrupt? I mean, what does a fine cost? If you're facing a criminal charge, you're just interested in the criminal law, stay tuned because this is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear, and I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes for more than 20 years, and we often get a lot of questions and fear from people reaching out to us about what's it going to cost for the court and the court costs. And before I jump into it, I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get the help they need. So getting back to it, we get that question a lot. Hey, I looked, it's a $5,000 fine. I'm gonna have to pay $5,000. And that's reasonable to think that, but happily that's not the case. This is just an educational video. I can't totally predict the future, but from doing this for more than 20 years on the defense side and 7 years as a prosecutor before that, I could say that fines in most criminal cases are way less than you think they're going to be. Think about it this way. When the court issues a fine, it pretty much doesn't get to keep that money. Okay, the court can keep money for probation costs. And the fine money, however, the fine portion of it typically will get given to the state for all the programs that are run, law enforcement, things like that. So your total cost to the court is going to typically involve a fine plus some court costs, which are like automatically tacked on. Like if you have a $100 fine, they might tack on $110 for a public safety education assessment. They might tack on $43 for a criminal conviction fee. And so that's a few $100s there. And then there's also probation costs. So if you want to keep your costs down, then if you get all your stuff done ahead of time, there's less probation costs. And when there's less probation costs, that's usually the lion's share of the money for costs in a criminal case. And so we're calling it a fine, but we're saying all the money that you have to pay is actually a fine plus some assessments plus some probation fees. But we're just calling it, what's the fine in a criminal case. So on a typical criminal case, on a misdemeanor, your total cost might be $1,000 or less with everything all added up, even on a $5,000 maximum. From what I see, many misdemeanor prosecutors might ask for a $200 fine plus court costs or a $250 fine plus court costs, things like that. So if they ask for a $250 fine, maybe they tack on another $275 for an assessment fee, $43 for a criminal conviction fee. There could be, a $25 record check fee. There's some fees added on, and then is there probation, right? If you've already done all your affirmative conditions, your classes and things like that, then maybe they just charge a flat rate. Well, I'm going to charge $100 a year for 2 years. So now you get out pretty cheap. Maybe it's $600 total. Now, if you have active probation, maybe they're going to say, well, $65 a month for 2 years, right? So $65 a month, $650, $137, it's like that's $1,500 to $1,600, right? Just in the probation fees. Now it's $2,000. So if you want to keep your costs down, then you want to get stuff done before you resolve your case, and that's going to keep your costs down. So do you have to pay everything to the court right away? Well, for the most part, you don't even pay anything to the court at all that day. They're going to put you on a payment plan. Might be $25 a month, might be $50 a month. Typically, they're going to put you on a plan where you get all of your money paid by the time the case is over. And many times now the courts don't take payments directly. There's some payment agencies that they use. And so there might be an account setup fee, $15 or $20 to set it up, and they might charge you, $5 to $10 a month for that company to collect. So if you can pay it more quickly, it's usually going to save you some money. But the costs for a payment plan are totally outrageous. Everything costs something nowadays, but maybe it's going to add $10 a month if you pay it over time. So strangely, if you have a felony, the costs are way less on felonies. The court doesn't typically issue a fine on a felony. They usually issue something like a $500 victim penalty assessment. Maybe there's a DNA fee if that needs to be taken as part of the felony conviction. And there's usually even more lenient about payment terms in felony court in my experience, right? because there the probation costs are often already sort of built in, community custody, stuff like that. Bottom line is, if you have a felony, don't worry about the cost to the court of the felony. You need to worry about, your freedom, prison time, the cost to hire an attorney to defend the case. So the exceptions to these rules are DUIs. DUIs have certain standard mandatory minimum fines, right? And they have much longer probation periods. Up to 5 years probation is pretty typical, so that'll cost quite a bit more. So on a DUI, I usually think, maybe you're looking, $2,000 in costs, and maybe even worse in King County. So these are just estimates, but that's something you can plan for. You can pay over time, and typically they're not going to put you in jail if you don't get your fine paid right away. If you totally default, it might suspend your license and things like that. So you need to take it seriously, but the fines hopefully aren't going to break you. That's not the biggest thing to worry about in the criminal case. I think the biggest thing to worry about is trying to stay out of jail, trying to avoid being convicted, and trying to get a good attorney to help you not only get through the case, but also to sort of see if they can get you relaxed as you go throughout the case, because a lot of attorneys can get you a result, but not every attorney can sort of keep your anxiety down as you go along the way. So what's the big picture? Fines are way less than you think. Ignore the maximum. I've never seen anyone get anywhere near the maximum in 28 years of doing this, right? There's not a financial incentive for the court to fine you. It actually is counterproductive. If they fine you a lot and you don't pay it, it just creates more hearings, it creates more problems, and they don't get to keep the money anyway, right? So there's no financial incentive for the court to give you a big fine. They've got to do something as a way of punishment, but it's usually not as bad as you think. So I hope you found this useful. If so, please like and please subscribe. More people get to hear this. And if you're in a criminal situation, feel free to reach out to my firm. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 20 years. We'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.